Hello, and welcome to the 146th edition of Beer Issues. My name is Matt Bruckert, and I'm coming to you today from Casa de Bruckert with another outstanding beer. And this beer is from A'Chouffe Brewing Company. It is the La Chouffe Blonde, which is one of my particular favorites. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open this. Now this beer clocks in at 94 out of 100, which makes it a outstanding beer right on the edge of world class. So it's outstanding right on the edge of world class in this beer. And we're pouring it into this beautiful Brasserie de A'Chouffe glass. So we're going to go ahead and get this going here. I'm going to pour this a little bit light so I don't get too much head, so I can actually pour the whole thing. But these beers, these Belgian beers, they tend to be a little bit heavy on the carbonation, as you can see. I'm even trying to pour it a little bit lighter. I'm still getting a beautiful, beautiful head on that beer. Now let's talk about this beer. It's a blonde beer, but it falls into the pale category. So this beer is actually rated the number 2 Belgian Pale Ale in the world. Number 1 we've done a beer review on, which was the Duvel. So this is rated number 2, right behind the Duvel. So it's really a special beer. And as you can see, we got our friend, I think this is Marcus, I believe is the gnome on it. My son's name is Mark, so that's kind of a big deal that Marcus is riding his unicycle on the front of the bottle there. So I'm going to pour a little bit more in here, and then we're going to smell it, and we're going to kind of talk about it. Again, this is not my first time having this beer. I actually really do enjoy this beer. It's a really nice triple. It clocks in at 8% alcohol by volume. So right off the bat, the things I pick up, of course, I smell the Belgian yeast, which is typical for any kind of Belgian beer. And then you get some coriander, a floral, fruity smell, but there is a spiciness to this beer that starts from the beginning and goes all the way to the end of the beer. So there's a spiciness that accompanies this beer. And you see the carbonation is maintaining. That's, of course, we've talked about that before. That is another sign of a quality beer. You get a bad beer or not so good or not well done beer, your head will dissipate extremely fast, and you're not getting continuous carbonation. Now on this beer, you can see it's a little bit cloudy. So to me, that probably means it's a bottle fermented beer, but I don't know that for sure. But yeah, there's definitely like a floral, coriander fruitiness to the beer, which is something, this is one of those beers, it's 8%, so you're not going to want to pound it, but it's certainly a beer that you could drink in all seasons, let's put it that way. So it's not, some of the stronger beers, your stouts, your quads, things like that, they're really more wintertime beers. It's not something you're going to sit around the pool. If you do have it in the summertime, which I do, I sometimes have Belgian quads and Christmas ales in the middle of the summer. But I'll do it usually typically in the evening or when I'm not out in the sun at all, because those are not meant for the sun. But a beer like this, probably better for spring, fall, and winter. But I think it's just the right amount of lightness at the 8% that you could drink it year round. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to waste no time, I'm going to taste this because I really do enjoy this beer. So that's phenomenal. As always, never had a bad La Chouffe. So anyway, the thing that strikes me about the beer is you definitely get that strong coriander flavor, okay? Which I really like. It starts off with the coriander, but it does finish a little bit on the sweeter florally side. So although you get that coriander up front, which gives a little bit of a spicy biteness to it, it finishes on a real crisp, not overly sweet. When I say sweet, but it doesn't finish with that spicy bite like some beers do. This starts off with just the initial bite you get at the beginning of the coriander, but then smooths out into like a florally sweet blend kind of thing. And they use the Belgian hops, which makes that sweetness kind of, at the very end, kind of get crisp, if you will. So it starts off a little bit on the beginning, and you know, the coriander, the spice, the bite of the coriander, and then it goes right into like a floral sweet with like a crisp finish. So it doesn't leave like an aftertaste of sweetness or coriander. It's more like just a nice, light, crisp Belgian hop at the end that you get. But it's not hot. When I say hoppy, it's not hoppy at all. It's just finished real crisp is what you get from these types of hops. So altogether, I would have to agree with the rating. I mean, I could even push it a little bit higher than a 94 because I do believe that it's world class. It's just so enjoyable to drink. I guess that's the best way to say. Because the thing about a triple, it's not quite as heavy as, you know, when you get into your quads, Belgian style quads and stuff like that. So it's a very drinkable beer. You know, it's a blonde, but it's a really strong blonde because it's really almost leaning more towards a triple, and it almost has a flavor somewhat of a Belgian style triple, but they call it a blonde. But at 8%, it's on the high end of a blonde. Triples will usually clock in, you know, 8 to 9%. So that gives you an idea of what we're talking about with this blonde. It's almost in the triple category, but they call it a blonde, so we'll go with what they call it. But the beer spectators call it a Belgian pale. So a lot of different beers fall into a Belgian pale, you know, so. And you do see, even at this point, after we've drank quite a bit of it, there's still a nice little, you know, obviously a thinning head at this point. But you do get, I don't know if you can see that, the lacing on the glass, which is we've discussed is a sign of a good quality beer when the head is thick enough that it sticks to the glass. Kind of like with wine when you talk about the legs on wine. Now, if you enjoyed this, make sure you tell your friends about Beer Issues and what fun we're having sitting around drinking beer, talking about beer. And if you want any cool gear, like this fine Beer Issue shirt, go to shop.beerissues.com. And as my wife likes to say, I have beer issues.